Hi guys, welcome back to MK Sportscars, and it's RX-5 build time again. So you've been following this, probably you've subscribed, you can see where we're going on, and the car is cracking on and moving forward. It's come out of the bay because now onto the four post. It was just easier for us to work on a vehicle here because some of the jobs that we've been doing, which is wing stays all bent up and bonded on. It's a two-part method. I think we showed that the other week. It's a bond on and then a seal from underneath. You probably see just through here. Lewis, we bonded on just under here. So we do a first bond, leave that overnight, and then we go in with a second one, which was the fairy liquid on the fingers or the glove, and smooth it over. Indicators have gone in here. Now this is a little 19mm hole that's drilled. We supply them with a rubber. We actually take the rubber off because it gives it a nicer fit. You can use the rubber as well. And then the trim's gone on for the mud guards. Now obviously this is a sharp edge, it's classed as, it doesn't meet the criteria. This is just a protective film to keep it nice and clean. Must trim all the mud guards out, and then we run the wiring for this through here, down and up, and it's going to end up with the headlight wiring here and join into that, the indicator in just at the front here, and it will join into that section there. So we've got the wire running up through, down the wing stay here, up under the A-arm here, and at the moment it's just terminated there. And this is it's only an LED. We can use this 2-core wire, real simple, wire it in at the same time, but the wiring this all in one here. Engine that you've seen about, it's all done. Radiator's all done, as you saw the other week, and the same on this side. We replicated it, and we're on the rack here because we was going to start Geo the car, even get the words out, Sean. So there's a couple of things that you have to do as well, making sure that you've got clearances doing left to right. So when you put this on full lock, which I'll do now, is making sure that these components don't hit things like here on the cap. Now as you can see on this one, it's just touching. So what we will do is pop that cap off, and we will just cut that section off there because it doesn't really comply, and you can probably get away with no cap, but we put one as a precaution, and we just leave this top section and that will hit. So because it's hitting now, just about touching now, then there's two options. You can put a rack stop in, or we just trim the top of this off because it's impacts there, that will be an IVA fail. So just making sure it's a little top tip there for you, just gets very close in there. So we've got Geo at the front end, which is done with, if you haven't done it before, is basically this is the lock nut here, and this rod you'll rotate left and right to set the tracking up on the steering, and then we've got to set the ride heights, which we do on the push rods. There's two little lock nuts here, a left and right thread, and you can wind this, and this winds the suspension up and down. Now with the dampers, you want to give them a little bit of preload, so you wind the spring up so it seats on the platform, just gives it, you've got about, on this one you've probably got about eight actual threads showing that's preloaded onto that, and that gives you a sort of good base setting. Set all the damper clicks to 0, make sure they're on 0 when you're doing all the geometry setting. Once you've done it all, you can put them on to 6. Same as on the rear, you'll probably be 6 as a road setting as standard. Now moving along here, the exhaust system has now gone on. Peter's on his other jobs at the moment, so we're using the standard MX-5 exhaust manifold, and we make the link pipe that joins here. So we've got a 2-part here, so going from a 4 into 2, and a 2-pipe here going into 1 now. This is a VVT engine. You're probably thinking, well, where's the second tick cat sensor? Well, we've actually gone with, because we're doing an aftermarket management, this is actually a non-VVT manifold because it has in there on it the Lambert port, which is much easier to do than a VVT one, because it's built into the exhaust, and you have to end up drilling 2 holes. So if you've got a VVT engine running stock management, you'll need a Lambert sensor port here, and you have one on the other side because it reads pre-cat and after cat, so it does both on those, so you'll need 2 ports on it. Non-VVT doesn't make any difference, it's already on there. This has got the cat built in, and we've got a standard 6-inch silencer, which normally at 3/4 RPM we're lucky to see 93-94 decibels. They're very good. So moving along, once this is fitted here at the back here, we have a bracket. Now this is just a basic piece of flat bar that comes along with, that's welded up with a boss, and you've got a M8 rubber bobbin so that this will flex and move with the engine. It will move up and down and vibrate with it. and that is drilled through the floor pan there, making sure you're using nice large sort of 30mm round washers just to take any stress. Into the seating area, seats have been put in, and it's just 4 bolts that drill down to hold them in. They are a cap head bolt, and making sure underneath, in fact we'll go up and have a look in a minute on this, underneath that there's plenty of thread showing. Harnesses have gone in, and then on the back of the harnesses that we call, what we call witches hats, because it looks like witches hat. These little IVA trims that cover and protect all that area, making it non-radius in any way, shape or form. You can do it yourself and trim it out with rubber, little U-trims and covers and everything else, but these just stop the rattling, give it a nice. And then the seats, making sure that you put the edge trim around the seats. This has got the thicker one here and a thinner one on the seat harnesses, down here and here. And this customer's gone with our diamond stitch seat padding and padded centre tunnel top as well. So any sharp edges in this vehicle are completely gone. Right, now on to interior and continuing on the theme. Dashboard has gone in, not that you probably noticed now. So what we're doing on this particular one is using the standard instrumentation that comes out of your Mazda donor vehicle. The dashboard's been designed for that, and we bond it on the back section, and that is in the manual how you do that anyway, and bonding it on. And you can try and do all these hidden fixings, but we're trying to standardise just doing a bolt section here. So what we have here, if you take from the centre right there and then go out 200mm, so it's 100mm either side on this, and then we go 170, 170, 170, so that's it there. So we go from centre 100mm, then it's 170, 170, 170. You end up with a nice number of even fittings around it, giving you the 8 fittings. All looks nice and neat and tidy and balanced, shall we say, and you don't end up getting right into the corner. So if you get right into the corner here, it can be a little bit tricky getting it in and fitting and causing stress on the dashboard as well. So once you balance it out, remember it's centre line of the dash there, 100mm either side, and then 170, 170, 170. That is in the manual as well. Got to finish the shroud yet, we're still on to that, so we'll talk once that's done. But these are the standard gauges off the Mazda. You've got the lights here, the indicators, the high beam and the wiper section, and all the standard steering column and the ignition key off of that, and that'll be done. We'll put the steering boss on and we'll make the steering wheel do that, but we'll show you when we get to that stage. So what we're on with next is the mirrors. There's a couple of ways of doing this depending which way you want to go. Now if you're going for a windscreen afterwards and all of that side of things, we have these little wing stays that are made of dummy ones that bolt on the wing mirror, and then these bolt into the same 2 hole fixings which are here, which again the manual that's in there, it's a 70mm up by I think it's 130 dimension where they go. And then when you're after IVA, you can basically pop your screen on and everything else, but these are sort of made, they give it the mirror a nice height, and this fixing is also the same fixing as used for the aero screen, so it's not wasted. We use this one and we use these 2 for the screen, but it makes it compliant, and these mirrors meet the criteria, that's the glass size that's required for the IVA. Again, remembering to trim this section, any sharp edges, and on the back if there's any bolts that's protruding, we've got little M6 plastic covers that avoid that as well, and this gives you a nice set. I mean, you can leave them on after IVA as well if you wish to, if that's your choice. And they're black, they're non-reversible with an aero screen that goes on. Right, next job that we've done is fitted the stripe, which we showed you the other week. So we fitted this one first because we're going to be doing the fog light in the centre and the number plate lights. As you can see down the side of the vehicle, the MK Sportscars stripe, which looks really strong. Really impressed with this. We have done our demo car with the grey and orange before. That looked really strong, and I think this customer is super stoked. And then if you look at the bonnet and the nose cone, I've got to say, this was super pleased with. This comes out great. How good does that look? That looks absolutely trick. And that's, well, we've had it on the car, it's all been fitted and everything else on this side of it, but it's just showing all been fitted, done, and then we'll do the final fitment once the engine's started, run it up to temperatures and all the things. So next up is bleeding the brakes. Right, so we're also going to give you bleed the brakes, but also an opportunity to look under the vehicle, which is something you don't normally get to see because it's on the ground. So Mazda brakes, when you bleed in, the nipple is down here. So this canopy is normally mounted at the front here, which puts the nipple up the top. But to bleed this, if you try and bleed it without removing the caliper, you will actually not get the air out. So you have to unbolt the 2 bolts, rotate it round so that this nipple is pointing upwards when you do your bleed on your brakes. So don't do these up immediately straight away really tight and torque them down and paint them and mark them that you've done it and thread lock them. Because you know that you're going to have to rotate that round to bleed them. It's the same on the Sierra brakes as well, because the nipples are at the bottom. Making sure this braided hose is nice and secured and not making sure it can move the suspension. We've tied it here with a double cable tie. You'll probably get another one in there actually, just there, and making sure that this all moves and it can't interfere with anything and rub, and that will be an IVA fail. Same with the wiring coming out of the lights here. We come along, we actually put a P-clip here. You can go for the panels. If you go for any panels, make sure you put a grommet in the hole, because it cannot have bare fiberglass chafing against wire. A, it's an IVA fail, but B, it's probably a potential failure in the future anyway with it being sharp. So we put a P-clip here, coming along, and then run it round, and then cable tying the rest up. So we were talking about the seats earlier under, and you can see how we've mounted the exhaust bracket now. So this has got here, we've got a couple of spaces in as well to clear the side panel. This is bolted through the floor with 30mm M6 washers as well, and we've put some plastic caps on, but basically you want to make sure with your seats and these, you've got plenty of thread showing through on these. It's they will check that at IVA to make sure you've got at least a thread and a half plus on that side, and we put the covers on just to make it neat and tidy. Brake lines coming through here, which you wouldn't have seen before, making sure that there's no interference or chafing or looseness, and making sure that these are within, well, we say 200, maximum's 300, but we will allow between 150 and 200mm. They will check here that the seatbelt fixings, the anchorage here, that the bolt has gone through the thread here, so you've got the 2 points here. They may make sure that that's gone through and it's fully penetrated. Again, if there was not enough thread through there, which it comes as standard anyway in the kit, but if you did choose your own route, making sure that they go all the way through. Coming through, we've got gearbox mount under here, and doesn't need a cover on that, it's protected up there. And then coming through to the gearbox, making sure that if you are getting under the vehicle, making sure once you run it up, there's no leaks coming from anywhere, from cooling, oil lines, everything else, brake lines, your brake tee, all of this. Securing of the under panel here, we drill and put 2 very large flange rivets in here as well under that, and then here you can see quite clearly now how we've done the earth strap, bolting through the engine mount rubber and up to the block. It's about a 300mm cable, and then moving along, we'll come along and we'll secure the nose cone in this section. This particular one here, you're probably thinking this has got no, if it's eagle wires out there, this is actually threaded on here. Now you may get questioned at IVA, that's passing through, and think that isn't, but this is actually threaded on the Mazda joint. If you're unsure or whatever, you can put a nut on that as well, but that is threaded in there. I've had that asked and questioned quite a few times at the IVA. Now on the front brakes, bleeding nose, these are very simple. You've just got 2 little nipples up there, which are quarter-inch little spanner that's used on those, and you're bleeding in and out. So you've got an in and out nipple on the top. You do not need to touch the nipples on the bottom, it's just the 2 top on those. And always when you're bleeding the brakes, we recommend starting with the furthest part away. So if you're doing the fronts, we would do the furthest one and then do the closest one to the master cylinder. And again, if we're doing the rears, we'd always start with the furthest, longest cable out, which is generally, they're about the same on this, but this side and that side. So this side will be slightly longer going to it. We'd start with the longest to get the air out. So floor pans all nice and clean. These are laser cut floor pans, and the enclosed rivets are all done, all nicely bonded on. So you want to make sure it's nice, clean, safe, and super clean environment. They will check it, and they will do inspections, and they will do sump height checks for crank sensors and things like that as well, crank sensor height for the centre of gravity of the vehicle. And that's it under here, guys. We'll put it back on the deck. Right, that's it for this week on the RX-5. If you want to know more about the range, don't forget to hook us up, phone call, email, come and see us at the factory. Got any questions, guys, happy to receive them below, or an email, or come and see us here and we can talk you through the process. And don't forget, this is a stock engine, you can turn it into that, the turbocharged variant, which is a demo car, and we are taking bookings for coming down and test drives and everything else. We've been at the show, the NEC, and looking all good, This is super shiny. I've already done some customs of this. I'm super impressed how this drives. So much, more than enough power. So yeah, want to know more about the range or any of the other cars that we do. There's Ford range, the booster cars, Duratec cars, which we've got a nice shiny Duratec engine over there, ready to go in one. Then you know where we are. That's it for guys. Like, share, subscribe. We will catch you next week.